Welcome to the Tech Report podcast, where we help businesses survive, thrive, and create value.
Welcome, everyone, to the Tech Report, the podcast that is all about helping businesses survive, thrive, and creating value, especially in our trying environment today. Well, I'm your host, Brad Stoller. Well, today we're doing something a little different. We've been talking a lot lately about how the coronavirus has been affecting everybody's business and, how to survive the epidemic. So today we're going to shift gears a bit. We're going to talk about how you can position your technology company, or really any other company, to get ready for your exit. And I don't mean because of low sales and having to shut your doors. I know there's a lot of that going, or the thoughts going around, but I mean getting your business ready to transition to a sale or partnership. So today we're fortunate to have Adam Borst of Vista Business Group. Adam is a partner with a company, and he specializes in the sale and partnerships of managed service providers and other tech companies. So prior to joining Vista Business Group, Adam ran his own business as a portfolio manager for a number of years. And through his portfolio management experience, Adam developed a keen sense for management capabilities and what it really takes for businesses to grow. So he and his firm works with buy-side and sell-side transactions for mainly MSPs as well as other tech companies out there. So I'm really excited, as Adam will be sharing some really key insights as to what strategic and private equity buyers are looking for. And if you're thinking of selling your company, he's going to go over some key pitfalls to avoid if you're thinking of using acquisitions as a strategy to grow your tech company as well. So without further delay, Adam, welcome to the Tech Report.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to join you.
Oh, great. Well, Adam, you and your firm have really been carving out a niche with technology companies, and really, you've been going after MSPs as a niche. So first of all, congratulations on your success. But before we dive too deep in that, I just tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up specializing in technology through mergers and acquisitions.
Sure. So I started out as a portfolio manager running a $22 million book of business where, my primary contribution to the world as a professional, it was the returns that I generated in people's retirement accounts.
Right.
So we did well there. What really attracted me to M&A, it was the realization that I could have a much bigger positive impact on the world by helping match up the right businesses. So typically the smaller the business, the higher their fixed costs are as a percentage of their total income, and so they have to make decisions about what they offer to their customers, and typically fewer options, and in some cases that's not ideal for the customer. So when a company gets merged into a larger player's operation, suddenly the overhead goes down, and then it's a win for everybody. So that's what got me into M&A. As far as what got us into focusing on technology, and then MSP specifically. As far as industry focus goes, we've always been somewhat agnostic, but we've always had a number of tech projects over the years. But then when COVID hit, we decided to focus our energies on parts of the economy that we felt were going to continue to do well. And
exactly.
So it's been a huge blessing for us. As it turns out, we've made a lot of great, just really tremendous relationships, and we really enjoy working in this space. So.
Gotcha. Well, I know that we had talked a little bit earlier, and your experience in portfolio management, it really allowed you to observe some really successful companies and their leaders. So what did you find that the really successful leaders had in common, and what lessons should our listeners pick up from your time with those leaders? Basically, why were they so successful and others weren't?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's Peter Lynch. He coined the term diversification, right? So,
Good point.
right?
It's
So
not always good, is it?
yeah, right. So, it's a the idea is there that that there's great acquisitions and then not so great ones, and so the difference is it's pretty basic. So, for the not so great ones, if you're a Twinkie maker, does it really make sense to acquire a cosmetics company? Probably not.
Exactly.
In private equity, they have situations like that, but that's a whole different world. That makes sense for their business.
Right.
So for somebody wanting to make strategic acquisition, is it kind of an obvious? Does it give you a whole new way to make money? And is that obvious? So, for example, a new product or service. So in the case of an MSP, maybe that's cybersecurity or VoIP.
Right.
Maybe it gives you a new customer base to sell to. So, thinking big picture, think of Netflix when the European Union said that they could all of a sudden stream their services in Europe, overnight their stock price skyrocketed because their addressable market
Right.
doubled, right? So
Exactly.
so for MSPs, that's really what they're after, is, buying a whole new customer base.
Exactly. So, well, I know you work a lot with strategic buyers as well as private equity companies, and you kind of alluded to that just a little bit ago, but can you just take a couple minutes and explain the difference between the two, and why someone that's thinking of selling or maybe even just partnering would want to consider entertaining this maybe a strategic buyer versus a private equity buyer? What's the difference? And when should they be looking at one or the other?
Sure. So strategic acquirers, they're the larger players in the industry that they've scaled. They want to continue scaling their business. So
that might be another large MSP.
Bingo, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So when a strategic acquires a business, it's merged into their operation, right? And so
Right.
so they're great for both big and small companies wanting to sell, and typically because they're already players in the industry, they don't need management to stay on board. So that the MSP industry, it's old enough that there's guys, they've built a great business. They've been doing it for 20 plus years, and they want to retire and go do something else. So
Exactly.
so
Go fishing or go play golf, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right off
right.
into the
They can't sit
sunset.
still that long. No, let's not kid ourselves. But yes, exactly.
So yeah, strategics are, it's a great fit there. And then the other great option though is private equity. And so with private equity, there's two types of acquisitions that they make. So there's platform investments and then add-ons. And so with a platform investment, that's where they don't already have a company in that particular space, and so they're really looking for a solid operation that they can acquire, that they'll use that to establish a beachhead, right? And so again, it needs to be a really solid operation. And so it'll have a minimum of $1 million in EBITDA, more realistically probably $2 million in EBITDA, and so they'll keep the name, the branding, the management team, and they'll use it to establish that beachhead. So when you sell to a private equity in that situation, you can cash out, take some chips off the table, and then
Right.
still continue running your business.
Gotcha. So that's more like the partnership model, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody that's looking for a growth partner. That's exactly right. Yep.
Gotcha. And they need you to keep the business going because they're not exactly necessarily the ones in that business to begin with, like the private equities.
Right.
That's what
Yeah,
you're saying?
exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. And you mentioned EBITDA. So we hear a lot of EBITDA, and some of the, a lot of the people listening to this, they know exactly what we're talking about. They've been there, done that. Okay, so that's the standard with M&A, but there's a lot of MSPs out there that they're just starting to kind of think about this and EBITDA, earnings. I get it, earnings before. I can't remember what it is. Talk to us a little about EBITDA. What that is, and is that really what everybody's looking for?
Yeah. So EBITDA, it's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So it's a way to kind of, when you're comparing two companies side by side, it's a way to kind of normalize things. So yeah, as you pointed out, it's a tremendously important figure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's other things that are important besides EBITDA, but that seems to be the kind of the benchmark what everybody compares, as you said, company to company. So
yeah, exactly.
Good thing to know. If you're thinking about selling your business, you might want to get up to speed on that a little bit. So if a business owner is asking you, okay, and they're concerned or not concerned, but they just want to sell their business at some point, what are some of the key questions that you are going to typically ask? And what are some signs that a business is really, if they're ready to sell, or, well, maybe they should just wait just a little longer and build up their earnings? Basically, how can you tell when the right time to sell or partner really is?
Yeah, that's a great
That's a loaded question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
No,
like timing the stock market. It doesn't work well sometimes.
So I love that question. So really, there's two parts to that answer, right? So the first is the right time to sell is when the owner's ready to sell. So
good point.
Yeah. So I mean, and really, I mean, that's up to the owner. One owner might be happy having built their company up to 250,000 in revenue, and then the other might want 25 million in revenue before they sell it. So it's really up to them. And then before we get into the second part, the other aspect to that is, the right time to sell is when times are good. So the second the revenue turns the other direction significantly, if you've had revenue increase for 3 years in a row, and then you've been thinking about getting out, it's probably a good time to pull the trigger.
Right.
So,
right.
The second part to that answer is thinking more big picture from a macro standpoint. In a consolidating industry, you don't want to be the last man standing. And so there's plenty of consolidation going on in the managed services industry. It's going to continue. There's still plenty of time, but you definitely don't want to wake up one day and go, geez, there's 50 managed service providers in the U.S. 40 of them are gigantic, and then there's me and 9 others. And
so we don't stand a chance.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that they could care less about buying your business at that point. So
yeah, exactly. They don't need you anymore, do they? So
yeah.
So what are some real danger signs? Okay, so every business. Okay, let's face it. You've heard. We've all heard this. We felt this. And I'll go back into, when you're selling your house, you always think your house has this much value, and the market says no, you're down here. But as owners, we always think it's valued more than what it probably really is. But with that, what are some danger signs that many businesses have that really keep their value down, other than just their pride?
Yeah. So
what should they look out for, I guess?
Yeah. The short answer there is, basically, what are the things that, as a business owner, that keep you up at night? So number one, I mean, first and foremost, the thing that our red flags kind of go up when we see it, is there a strong concentration of revenue coming from one particular client, or 2 or 3 clients?
Right.
So another would be lack of management structure. If it's a 3-man show and the owner does most of the work, then there's inherently more risk there, and it's going to limit your buyer pool too, because anybody that comes in to acquire it, they're going to need a manager to fill your shoes so they can manage it from afar if they're not already a strategic. So
the person that's out there and doing everything, running the show, and they may be really, really, really good at it. They're superstars. They're
right.
really good at doing everything themselves, and they're good at it, far better than anybody else. But that's actually not a good thing if you're going to sell your business, is it?
Yeah, and the other thing too, that there's going to be a little bit of you know, people in that situation, customers, maybe they're still doing business with you because of that personal relationship,
Right.
So yeah, the more, the bigger the company and the more management structure that's there, the more systems and procedures are in place, the more of a solid business there is to acquire. So
Gotcha. So you're basically on the flip side, what you're saying is that, some keys to focus on, I guess, would to creating the highest value possible is stop doing everything yourself, have the systems, have the people, have the whole, I know a lot of very successful MSPs that I've talked with, they have a system for that. They might start somebody out as the help desk, train
right.
them, graduate them up, they become a technician, graduate them up, eventually become the VCIO. And if you have a system where you keep going, like you're saying, that is really, really good as far as creating an exit strategy for a few years down the road. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Gotcha.
So
Cool. So, well, I get this question quite a bit, and that is, should a tech company simply work out a deal with the first buyer that approaches them? What are some reasons that business owners should use an M&A consulting company such as yours to help them through that process? Talk to us a little bit about that, and if they get that magic deal out of nowhere, should they take it, or what should they do?
right. So
That's going on right now. It really is.
yeah. So uh, the short answer is, you don't want to have just one buyer because one, you don't have any leverage, and
Right.
and the other is you don't know if it's the top of the market because you know um, your sample size is just one. So you should hire a company like ours who will bring you multiple offers all at the same time. You can compare them. You can decide which is the best fit for you from a financial standpoint, from a deal structure standpoint, and then also in terms of what makes for a good cultural fit. So
Right.
if you that part, some people overlook that cultural fit part, but that's just who you work with is tremendously important.
Especially if you're partnering with somebody. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, if you work with a company like ours, then, we'll likely bring you 10 to 15, maybe 20 offers all at the same time, and you can review those. You stack them up side by side, and then so you'll sleep good at night knowing that, you got the best price for your company because you'll see what the market's willing to pay. And then, you'll have leverage. So when you're negotiating with somebody, it's much easier to negotiate if you have other offers to fall back on if one of those falls apart.
Yeah,
So
that makes a lot of sense. But doesn't that create a lot of extra work, though, really? I mean, for the business owners, when you've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 offers coming in, I mean, what value do you guys have to help the business owners get through all that? Because it sounds like a lot of work when you say it like that to me. So how do they get through all this stuff? And what's your role with that?
yeah, it's a fantastic question. So the the other thing to keep in mind is when you work with a company like ours, we're we're going to help you to package it up and with a pretty bow on top, right? So
Right.
so it's marketed in a professional way, in a way that it caters to the way that any buyer out there is going to buy. So there'll be no issues when it gets to due diligence and when we get to closing, because it'll already be reviewed extensively in advance. And not only will we have helped you to already identify those issues, but then to also properly document them, and then we share those with the buyers so that
Right.
that way nobody's surprised and everything goes smoothly. And then you know you brought up a really great point. Filler fatigue, that's a real thing. People talk about it, it's real. So
Yeah, it is.
we
They're
can
busy.
show it to 100 buyers, and from the standpoint of view, the seller, it's the same amount of effort for you to show it to just one, being us, and then we turn around and we can show it to hundreds of people. So
Right. But you
Yeah.
do that, how do you keep that quiet? Because the last thing the owner wants is the word get out on the street that they're for sale. I mean, they've got a real risk of their customers hearing that, and the next thing they know is they get a call from another MSP, and that I'm out of here. I'm going to this guy because I don't think you're even going to be around. I mean, so how do they protect themselves against that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's part of the way that we go about with our process, right? So we have a blind, it's a teaser document that we have, and that's just the real high level details of the company, and there's no name there, and then so when somebody says, yeah, I'd like to take a look at the company, then we send them a confidentiality agreement. And if they want to see the book that we've prepared, the confidential information memorandum, they have to sign and return the confidentiality agreement.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, I know we talked about a lot of things today, and I know I asked some questions that I wasn't really trying to throw you off, but these are questions that are real. I mean, the business owners, this is what's going through their mind, and so I thought I better ask because I'm sure a lot of people have had those questions. But what have we missed so far that you feel our listeners should be aware of if they're considering either buying, selling, or partnering, whether it's today or down the road?
Yeah. So two things. One is, we have other options available to help you sell your business aside from just listing. So, if you're uncomfortable with the idea of us widely marketing your business, then we also have, we can help you with what we call a quiet listing, where we'd reach out to acquirers strategically. So to, both private equity, strategic acquirers, and individual investors, family offices, and the like. And, so in that situation, you wouldn't have all the offers all at once, all in your hand at once at the same time, and it might take a little longer, but we can certainly do it that way, and we have in the past. So
Gotcha.
the other thing I'd mention is that as a first step, our company, we provide valuation for free. So if you're wondering and you just want to know, how do I stack up? What's the value of my business? Give us a call. Let us do a valuation for you.
Gotcha. And so how do you guys go about valuing the business? Is it based upon just the earnings and multiples, or I mean, what all do you do when they call and want a valuation of the business? How do you actually go about doing that? What do they have to do to I guess is to get that valuation?
Yeah. So we have people on our team that's all they do, right? So
Okay.
So when you're working with anybody that's going to be seriously looking at acquiring your business, they're going to go through, if they have any sophistication to them, they're going to have pretty in-depth due diligence process. And so we walk you through that step by step. So like I said, that way there's no surprises when when somebody that's actually looking at your business wanting to acquire it, when they're in the due diligence process, and then when they get to closing. So.
Okay, fair enough. So someone has some questions about selling their tech business, or just want to follow up from this podcast episode. Adam, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, give us a call, 913-944-2285, or you can just shoot me an email. It's Adam Borst at vistabusinessgroup.com.
Okay, and I'll make sure and put that up so everybody can have that information handy. But good
Great.
stuff. So once again, a special thanks to Adam Borst for his dedication to helping technology business owners with their transition plans. And I hope you've really been able to pick up some great ideas today that could really impact your financial future. And I strongly recommend that you listen to this episode a few times, because if you're like me, I always get something new from an episode every time I listen to it. So 2-3 times, you're always going to learn more every time you listen. So again, Adam, just a big thanks again today for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.